Welcome to another episode.
I'm Leilani.
And I'm Kristen. And we started this podcast to really take you on a journey that should challenge and elevate your mindset as business owners and leaders. Y'all, this episode is going to be a little different as we have just finished our last book that we were doing for August, the 4-Hour Work Week, which was amazing, game changer for sure.
Yeah.
And with August having 5 Saturdays, we, through our friends and some of you listening and family members who know what we're doing, we've gotten some really great questions over the past few months. And we thought it'd be kind of fun to take some of those questions and tie it back to the books we've done so far, almost like a mid-year celebration. So exciting. So
Agreed.
Here's how this is working tonight. We have compiled in order of us, we started back in October of 2023 with our first episodes. And oh my gosh, to go back and listen to them with the audio and the lighting.
Yeah.
We're learning, we're growing, we're figuring this out. Our men have been incredible, right? Kevin and Danny, thank you so much for all the support of helping us create the studio that we have, what it's becoming.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I really, we have been a journey. What I really like is that you and I we're couples. So our husbands are equally invested in this endeavor as well. And we all have been learning. This has been a fantastic journey. And I just so much goes into just making one episode. It's incredible, right? It's great though. We're having so much fun.
It's been a blast. So our very first book, and Leilani, you were super intentional with what we were going to read in what order to really take ourselves, me being first and just so hungry to start reading and evolving myself as a business owner. We were intentional with what we read when and how they built on each other. So let's dig into it. Our very first book, this was decorated for Halloween, which is
we were wearing little Halloween hats.
Yeah.
So the very first book that we read was Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And I really wanted to start with that book, and just for the simple fact of you need to know why you do anything. Your core why it's the heartbeat of anything. So if you're wanting a certain goal, you need to know why you want that goal, the core why. Any endeavor you go through. So if you're opening up a business, or you've decided to take on a new job, or you're looking to change professions, why? All of that really peels down to your core why. And Simon Sinek's book really dives deep into why it's important and how you can kind of extract that for yourself. So the first question we have from a viewer regarding that book was, what advice would you give to a small business owner struggling to identify their why? And can you share an example of how understanding your why has impacted your business decisions? So let's first start with the first question. What advice would you give to small business owners struggling to identify their why? Kristen?
I would say, look at what truly motivates you. One of the things I've learned from Leilani is peel back the layers even deeper. Chances are you went into business because you either believe it will be the gateway that you can go through for control of your own time so that you can have more time with your family or friends or traveling the world or what have you. Or, you were tired of making money and driving sales for somebody else, and you wanted to have that hard work come back to you directly, and you wanted to keep more of your efforts in pocket so you could do more for your family or for yourself to travel the world or experience foods and other cultures. Chances are there's something that really was the reason that had you leave. For those of us that have worked, I think, in corporates, we've had those times where we've been frustrated with a boss or frustrated with corporate politics or frustrated with the red tape. But that never truly was enough really to make people leave. I think when you have that burning desire to do something more for either your own self experiences and traveling the world, experiencing other cultures, and it just drives you and you realize you're not getting that outlet through your place of work, or you want to do more for your family or have more time with your family, you want control of your time and your schedule and even your finances. I think when you hone in on truly why you want that's your business why. I mean, it's not maybe not share what you share with your customers yet, because then that's almost the second layer of it. But it's never supposed to be about just making money.
Money is the byproduct, right? That's what we say. If you know your why and your why extends into your business, the money's going to come in regardless, right? Because if you don't know your core why, you've decided to go in this business, what ends up happening is you'll end up setting goals that are not really relevant to your business needs, right? Mm-hmm. You'll set material goals, and once you achieve those, you'll kind of be lost. That's my experience that I've seen in others. And so knowing your core why, and what will end up happening is as you set your goals, your why will be at the forefront of the reason why you want those goals. And as you work backward to making those actionable steps towards your goals, and your why is in it, money is the byproduct. It'll come naturally because your customer will feel it.
Yeah. Right? And I think this almost touches in a little bit on not only your goal setting module, Sage Consultants is here to help you grow your business. So we have a website, we have a business growth community, and Leilani has an incredible module around, goal setting, which ties back to your why. But I think also maybe what this, what our friend was asking here was, how do you find your business why to some extent? Like, what is it that your story is for your customer as well?
Well, okay. So I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. And I think, guys, Be Chic, my company that I founded in 2010, we sell jewelry. And so the first thing you might ask is, okay, how do you put your why in jewelry? And the default mode is most people will say, oh, because we have fun doing it, right? Okay, pull it back. Why do you have fun doing it? Is it kind of a form of meditation for you? Okay, why do you need that meditation? Is there a part of your soul that needs to be calmed? Is there a part of you that feels that it's overworked and overwhelmed? What about making jewelry was giving you solace in doing it and doing that practice? In my case, since I figured out the whole reason why I decided to start Be Chic was actually a chain of events that led to me starting up that company. But my core why is my family and my legacy. So melding those two, as long as I kept true to my core why, was how I wanted my family to view me and the legacy that I wanted to leave. I wanted to foster unity and love and leadership, and I wanted them to help others and make a positive impact on this world. Well, it starts with me. And so I started those principles within the company that carried forward not only to how we treat our customers, it went down to how we package our goods, it went down to the story we tell, it went down to how I am with my team members, not employees because they're team members. It's in the vein of all of the company. All right. So I'm going to tell you, don't get too stuck into the why. If you've already started your company and you're already a couple of years in, you're already selling a product, do not get caught up on the product you're selling. All right. It goes beyond that. Why did you decide to sell a product? Beyond that, why are you starting your business? Why are you in your business? What did you want to achieve when you started your business? Because most people are going to say, oh, I just wanted money. Okay, great. But you can get money anywhere. You can go work for someone else and gain your money that way, right? You can Uber around self-employed and get money that way. But you decided to start a business that services customers by selling a product or by providing a service. Why did you decide on that route? That's what I'm talking about. Peel that back.
Mm-hmm. So good. That was a great book, wasn't it?
It was a great book.
And we refer back to it, I think, weekly.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. So the secondary question was, can you share an example of how understanding? Well, I think I already did that.
Yeah. I feel good. Let's move into November.
Okay.
We have pumpkins everywhere. If you guys don't notice, sometimes we have themed sets based on the holidays.
Yeah.
So there was pumpkins everywhere for the next book, hence the title.
Think and Grow Rich.
Not Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, no, Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich by Pam.
By Pam Grout. Yep.
Yeah.
And so the very first question was from a viewer who's asking, how has practicing gratitude as suggested in the book impacted your business and personal life? You want to take this first, or you want me to take it first?
If you watch the episode, I talk about like dancing with the trees, right?
The trees, yeah.
I think what was my eye-opening is your mindset and your view on things will attract more of whatever you're focused on. So when I was living a life stressed about finances, stressed about, was I ever going to feel fulfilled in a career? When I focused on that, I always had financial problems and I was always stressed in my career. But when I focus on what I'm proud of in my business, what I can do for my community and myself and those that I touch within our business, and I'm grateful for even the struggles because they're teaching me to be a more dynamic business leader and owner. They're making me a better, thinker and planner and strategist. They're making me a better wife. They're making me, I hope, a better friend. Like just by focusing on her little parties, right? She gave so many different ways to celebrate gratitude. And I think the other big one for me was when she's like, let go of the wheel, ma'am, let go of the wheel, let go of the dials, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I tie that to another book that we had read, Infinite Possibilities later in earlier this year. Just kind of got to let go and focus on that positivity and gratitude for what you're already doing.
Yes, exactly.
That's my take. What about you, my friend?
It's not just for business owners, anyone, it's easy to get stressed, right? If you focus on the negative things that are currently in your space, it's very easy to gain anxiety and stress because you're focused on the negative. If you make a conscious decision to actively focus on the good that is happening to you, and I'm not talking about toxic positivity, okay? Like trying to convince yourself. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about acknowledging the good that is happening in your life. It helps switch your mindset to thinking more of the positive things that are happening. So if you just start with one thing happening to you positive, it kind of has a domino reaction, right? And so by doing that, you're switching your vibration into a positivity mode and you're attracting stuff. So when I started doing that in my personal life, I started noticing all I'm not kidding you, free things I was getting. Free stuff was coming my way all the time. And then what ended up happening is the same thing started happening to my business. I started getting free services and people offering free stuff, and this not for anything. The other day I called Spectrum, who's my internet service provider, and let them know, I'm like, guys, you guys are charging me $109, or like a couple of years ago I was only paying $50. What's going on? And out of nowhere, this guy goes and says, hey, well, we're going to credit you 1 month. We're going to back credit you a whole year for the overpayment, and we're locking you in at $50 a month. I'm like, and it just took one phone call and one question, right? But being grateful for that, honestly grateful, because I wasn't expecting it. And those things happen quite often to me. And I contributed to the fact that I acknowledged good. Bad things are going to happen. They happen. You see it, okay, next. And then you focus on the positive, and you just make sure that just keeps coming to you one after the other. And that also helps you get through tough times.
I love that. Fabulous.
So we have another question on Think and Grow Rich. It says, what advice would you give to small business owners on integrating the mindset of gratitude into their daily operations? Ooh.
I think that's just your routine. You have to make a decision. You have to make a conscious effort and say, I want to do better at practicing gratitude. You first have to realize, is there a gap in your performance?
That's
maybe
true. That's true.
And then you have to just make it part of your routine, and in whatever way it makes sense. And because she gives so many great suggestions, you know, is it that at the beginning of each, time block on your schedule, you say something you're grateful for in your life? Or is that part of just your morning, like, right, you get up before you even check your emails and your socials for business or personal, you start with a little self-reflecting and just gratitude. And you got to list at least 10 things. And even if your list is repetitive.
Yeah.
That's one thing I would say. What do you think?
I'm actually here in my home office, and I have a journal. And in my journal, actually, this is my gratitude book. This is not even the place I journal. And I could bet you I could flip to a couple of pages. Let's see if I can flip to a couple and share them with you. Look, May 3rd, 2024. I am thankful for my mother in love. It is her birthday today. I wrote that down. I'm thankful for my husband, who is my rock. I'm thankful for my son, who surprises me every day with his grace and maturity. I'm thankful for my youngest, for his innocence and laughter. So I actually just have in my book, I write it down. That morning when I'm sitting down and with my coffee, I just sit down and write down what I'm thankful for. And so when I first started this gratitude journal, I made it a point of only listing 3 items. Because when you're coming from a bad headspace, sometimes it's a little hard to see the positive, right? And so when I first started out, I just started writing down, I'm thankful for waking up in the morning. I'm thankful for my feet touching the floor. I'm thankful for the roof over my head. The obvious things that are going on. But then as I got into the practice of doing this every single day, it became easier and easier to notice every little thing that happens. Be grateful for. And then even now, and I feel like I've maybe graduated on the thankful scale. When bad things happen, I am grateful for the lesson that I am currently learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that helps me through challenges and tough times, and it helps me be resilient as being a business owner, because resiliency is something that anywhere, not just as a business owner, even in your professional career,
personal life too. Yeah, you need resilience in relationships. So, and I almost feel like part of the answer for that individual was our next book in December.
Yeah. Look at that. You're Trey. She brought it right up. So the next book we had was Atomic Habits by James Clear. Fantastic book. So many different ways to implement habits.
Better habits.
Yeah, better habits. If you want, I think the part like said before is to acknowledge if you have bad habits that are lingering around, right? And then the second thing is the want to change them, right? You have to have the desire of wanting to change those habits. And his book was a fantastic tool to really how you could do it incrementally into your life, right?
Yes.
There's so many different examples of it.
Really did. So what was the first question around this one?
Yeah, the first question is, can you share a specific habit you developed or changed after reading Atomic Habits that had a significant impact on your business? Kristen, take this one because I know you definitely have.
So it was, I had to completely evolve my mindset as a person. I had to. I was so stuck in victim mindset and everything was happening to me. And I had these dreams, but they could never happen. And I had to start small with attainable things. And Atomic Habits really gave me that permission that it's okay. I don't have to all of a sudden be a bodybuilder to start working on my physical health, and he's the one that really empowered me that I could really just start with. I mean, honestly, my workout started with 10-minute little things at home. Like, that's all. But I could commit to 10 minutes. I could do it. And then I also had to commit to reading. I said I wanted to develop my mindset. I listened to so many of these incredible, successful people, and they all said they read books. Yeah, well, my favorite books to read, before a year and a half ago were just like, I like fiction and like period stuff, like medieval and Renaissance and all of that. So, sit and build a library of great business books and mindset perspective books. It just took, he suggested just doing it in small doses. I could commit to 3 pages a night. And that's how I started. Okay, I'm going to do 3 pages. And then if I was like in it and I could read more, then I kept going. But yeah, Atomic Habits definitely taught me how to call what it is I want it to do and gave me permission to start small. And what a game changer. My husband says I'm a completely different person than I was a year ago. So, and I feel it. I totally feel it.
Isn't that awesome though? That's so awesome. Oh man. Okay. So for my end, what hasn't it impacted? I mean, the journaling thing, it was Think and Grow Rich. I didn't start with making 15 on a list. I started incrementally, right? Just something he suggested, doing squats in the morning, making sure I do my stretches, getting, the reading section. Yeah. Starting with reading. If you see a book you really like, start with 10 pages, it's just so many things that I've implemented in my life that are kind of really around that book. And I don't know exactly what I did after reading it, but I do know he is a part of that book, or that book is a part of a lot of the habits that I did start. Right. Awesome. So yeah, really good. So the second question is, what advice would you give to a small business owner on breaking bad habits that hinder business growth? I think to me, it's right back to incremental steps. Right? You don't try to tackle everything at one time. You know what? I'll do this. Make a list. Be real with yourself and make a list of all the bad habits you currently have. If you're going to bed too late, you're binge watching Netflix, you're not working out, you're eating too late, whatever.
Doom scrolling on your phone.
Yeah, doom scrolling on your phone. Make a list of all the stuff that you're currently doing that is a habit that's probably not beneficial for you. Go ahead and make a list. Then prioritize it. Which ones do you think are affecting you the most on strategically building your business for success? And then whatever one is at the top of your priority list, make incremental steps towards breaking it. And you can figure those ones out. Yeah.
And he gives really great solutions. Like, I think almost everybody in this day and age gets caught up on the doom scrolling that pulls you away from staying focused. And, James talks about deleting it from your phone altogether. So the only time you can go on socials is when you log into like a work computer or something like that. Or I think he also had somebody email him a new password, on Fridays or something like if you really want to make it happen, you'll figure out how to adjust things. And that's one thing I had to do. I was so bad at those stupid games on the phone. One night I had to just be like, you know what? Delete, 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 delete. When they're not on the phone, they're not in my face. So yeah.
100%.
Okay.
So the next book we tackled after Atomic Habits was Mindset by Carol. And the very first question we have from a viewer is, can you share an example of how shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset has improved your business outcomes? Good one, huh? Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
You in the first row. Okay. I was very much stuck on a fixed mindset through a lot of my career. So even though I'm a positive person and I'm naturally like words of affirmation and celebrate and recognize, I always felt like things were happening to me or holding me back for things. I never took accountability that it's how I looked at things. And then failure held me back so much. Like, I was so afraid at how I'd be perceived. And if things were like buttoned up and perfect every step of the way, I never looked at people giving me feedback as people wanting to help me get better. And it wasn't until I shifted that now something like doesn't go right. I think a really great example is recently, like I'm not very good at certain things marketing wise. Branding I feel great about, but executing a marketing thing I struggle with. And we wanted to do the Sage newsletter for our private community, the business growth community. And the first newsletter was just blah. I would give it like a C- for how it looked visually. The content was great, I think, but it looked just wah wah. And then, Leilani's husband Danny is so creative, and he created this amazing, beautiful new newsletter that we're using now, and it felt so good. So instead of needing to be defensive and like, but I created this, we have to keep using it, allowing somebody to create something that will make it even stronger for the business, more attractive, more whatever. So yeah, I think that's a recent for me.
I think I'm with you on that one. I struggled earlier in the business of it had to be my way. I know this is what I want. And instead of really looking at what's beneficial for the business, as long as it aligned with my why and it didn't conflict with my core values, then I needed to be open for the fact that someone who knew better could do better for the business. And I think that was hard because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when you go into it, you feel like you need to know all the answers. You need to know how to do everything. You need to be there and in everything. And sometimes I noticed that when my business grew the most is when I took my hand out of the pot and I left it to the person who knew how to do more with it. And I would just supervise it. I would just make sure that they're doing it. That, like I said, if it didn't conflict with the core values of the company, then I would let them run with it, but that was a big step. That was a huge step. And I always say that entrepreneurs, we think we know everything, right? And we don't. And I think the fixed mindset is thinking we know everything and you have to prove me wrong, right? When the growth mindset is, I don't know everything and go ahead and do it and prove yourself right, And so that's the part where I had to learn.
Yeah, love that. Good.
Okay, so the next question is, how do you handle setbacks and failures differently after understanding the principles and mindset?
I feel like we really just kind of touched on this.
We really kind of did. I think the only thing I'd add to that, to answer that question a bit, is setbacks and I don't like to use the word failures. I don't. You see me, I always catch myself on that. I don't like lessons. They're lessons.
Opportunities.
So setbacks and lessons are always going to be there, whether you're in business or whether you're working for someone else.
And the more you have, the more successful you'll be.
Exactly. Well,
you're trying.
You're wise enough to learn from the lesson.
True. Yes.
So it's only truly a failure if you didn't learn anything from it and you repeat the same thing over and over again. Then it's failure and chaos, right? So when you have a growth mindset and a setback hits you, you won't look at it as a setback. So that question there is actually kind of canceled out if you already have a growth mindset. It's not a setback for you. It is a learning opportunity for growth. It is not failure. It is a lesson for you to excel on. So that's what happens when you read a book like Carol's and you take the information inside and you apply it to yourself.
I love that.
Okay.
And then we got into
E-Myth, and what an incredible. One of my favorites.
Yes, I read it like 3 times.
Yeah, one of my favorites. E-Myth by Michael Gerber really just talks about how to start automating your business more. And I'm not talking about getting robots in. I'm talking about step away from your business a bit and learn to stop being self-employed and turn yourself into a business owner, because a business owner is someone who could take off for a period of time and know that business is going to be run exactly as if they were still there. And so the first question we have is, what key insights from E-Myth do you think are most important for small business owners to understand? I think I just said it. Right?
Organization and systems that are replicable.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
I mean,
it doesn't matter what industry. I mean, you're wanting to start a dog walking service, you're wanting to do a spa service, you want to fix cars, you want to sell things, you want to, doesn't matter. Organize, systemize, and even if it's you who's still doing the systems for now, it's okay. But at some point, start giving a little bit of it away, right?
Yeah, it was after I read that book that I took a moment to sit down and I made a list. So you make a list of all your roles. If you're a solopreneur, Kristen has a great workshop around organization. It's free, it's on YouTube, check it out. She talks about the organizational chart, and now it has the basic roles that every single company needs. There are no exceptions. They're basic roles. Of course, depending on your industry, there might be some additions here and there. Okay. However, the core meat of your business will be within that chart. And just listing out those roles is important, because when you start thinking about those roles and what you're doing in each one of those roles, you start thinking about it in steps. That's pretty much what I did. I sat down and started thinking in every single role, what are the steps that I'm taking? And in those steps, what do I actually really need to be doing? Right. And so when you really built it down, it took a while, because I'm like, no, I need to do it because that person's not going to do it right. And that person isn't going to do it right. And then, until I decided, let me start with one person. You start with one person. And you get that one person and you train them everything they need to know in that particular role, exactly the way you do it. And then you repeat and you repeat and you repeat. Now, if you can't afford employees at the moment, you still need to record what you're doing. And record it. Like, I literally right now, I still do things, of course, in our business. I record myself doing it with the thought that one day in the near future, I'm going to pass it off to someone. This is not a full-time thing for me. So just getting into the mindset of knowing that every single thing you're doing needs to be passed away. Or not passed away. I don't want to die, but passed on.
Delegated.
Yes.
Delegated. Yep.
Delegated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the next question for that?
Can you provide an example of how systematizing processes as suggested in the book has improved your business operations? Oh, 100%. I mean, once you get people in on your team that are doing the business exactly the way it needs to be done, first, you're ensuring that no steps are missed, right? Because if you're doing all of it yourself, you're going to miss steps. There's just too many nuances in running a business that something won't get looked over, right? But when you've got a team under you that is doing it exactly the way it needs to be done, those steps are not missed. So that has improved business operations. Then you can also improve business operations because you can start focusing on the ways to create new things, or new ways to bring in more money, or different ways to expand your company. You're using your brain power for growth versus for maintenance.
For sustainability.
And that was the part that was huge.
Well, and I also think about, one of the books we read more recently, A 4-Hour Workweek. He talks about outsourcing. And for small business owners, that may be the most economical option to start off with. But you have to know exactly what you want, I think is the way you described it. So when you have figured out maybe your, customer response verbiage and then what they need based on 4 or 5 questions, how could you then leverage a virtual assistant to field any incoming customer phone calls, ascertain which of these 4 brackets your customer might fall into, and then connect them to the right time slot for you, or maybe it's, I don't know, just say. Or when it comes to marketing, visual, like marketing and things like that, we spend a lot of time figuring out ourselves with both Books and Booze and Sage Consultants, and we're coming up on a point where it's time to take our pretty little package and say, okay, here's what we want, you do it now. So that it frees up our time to be more available to our clients and begin to hone in on next level development and things like that, right? So I think systems. Okay. After we read that, we got into
it was Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. Yes, him and his checklist Kristen loves so much. So
every chapter,
the viewer went and said, how has the concept of thinking multiple moves ahead changed your strategic planning for your business?
Well, I think it's twofold. And I appreciate how a lot of times, Leilani, you're like, okay, what is the ultimate end goal for our business, either books and booze and Sage? Where do we see it at its prime and its peak? And then how do we work backwards from there? That's kind of reverse engineering your next 5 moves. But also, when you think about what you want to do, you think about the domino effect and fallout from that. So if we're like, okay, we're going to do this or spend time on this or invest in this, where could this lead? And I think we've prevented ourselves from taking a lot of unnecessary steps because we thought about what's it really going to do for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think so the re-engineering part, looking at the final end goal, could be your 5th move, right?
Or your 10th.
Your 10th. Well, yeah, but let's just say it's your 5th, right?
Yep.
And so when you're first starting out, so if you're a solopreneur or you've only got a few people under your belt as far as team members go, and you're looking at the end of, the long end of the journey, and you're saying, okay, I want $15 million in 5 years. Okay, well, what steps are you going to do? What moves are you going to make that are going to align with that $15 million mark, right? And that's kind of where he goes with this, is saying, well, if you want 15 million in 5 years, each year, what are you doing? And work backwards, because those are your moves. Those are your next 5 moves that you can now, baby bite it down into little chunks of how it's going to be good for you. But it also brings things in your purview that could be obstacles. So if you want to reach 15 million in 5 years, there are chances that you will need to leverage bank loans in order to scale up, right? And so if that's the case, then how can you prepare for that now? And that's where I go with that. Think ahead long term, work backwards, and think, what do I have to do in the first couple of years that will position me for that 5th year? In this case, the 5th move. So I'm just bringing up an example, but if we're planning on Sage being $100 million a year business, well, guess what? We need to align ourselves for growth, meaning what we're starting now, how can it be delegated out like eMyth? And financially, how do we need to position ourselves to be in a place where banks will have no problem leveraging us money because we are going to invest it in such and such tool in order to expand? That's where thinking next 5 moves ahead will change your business, is because you're not getting caught off guard. You're being proactive versus reactive.
Yep. And for our small business owner friends, I do love his little David and Goliath story near the end, where he really, he was up against a big giant, and I think a lot of small businesses are like, they can't stand up to these big box things. And I'm like, you know what? You can. And Patrick really walks you through a mindset and an approach and things like that. So, yeah.
Okay. And so the next question we have is, what advice would you give to small business owners on identifying their next 5 moves well, I'm going to finish reading the question, but what advice would you give to small business owners on identifying their next 5 moves to achieve their business goals? I think I just covered that. Yeah. Start from the end and work backwards. Okay. So the next book we went to after your next 5 moves is The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. Yeah, I love that one. That one just puts in.
I thought we were gonna fight during that. I really did. I read the first, I think I read the epilogue or the back page of it. I'm like, cancel my customers? No way.
Yeah. So the Pumpkin Plan, it really focuses on how to trim down your customer or in this case, if you have a product, your catalog of products, right? Because when you're first starting out in business, you think more is more, right? So the more products you have, the more inventory you have, the more sales you're going to get, right? And then same thing, service-based. The more leads you have, the more customers you have, the more money you bring in. Where Mike kind of went into the mindset of, no, you want quality over quantity. So you really want to look at the products that are mainly driving your sales and expand on those, and the customers that are not, or you say the quality of customer that is driving your business without needing unbridled attention. Okay. And focusing on more customers like that, right? So that could mean I'll tell you a prime example. In Be Chic Jewelry, the catalog was 1,300 SKUs we had across the catalog, and we've reduced it down to 500. And a lot of that goes in line with the fact that we have a categorization of how we define type A, type B, and type C products. And so if a product does not fall in one of those three types, it got axed, and it's done once a year. So that is just a way of making sure you're only keeping your top selling products in your catalog at all times, because if it's in your catalog and it's not making any money, it's actually costing you money. Same thing with customers if you're servicing them. Okay, just because you have a Rolodex of people in there doesn't mean that you're actually being efficient with your time and with your company's resources to maintain those customers. Yep. You really went down to how can you trim things down.
I bet you answered at least one of the questions just by the recap of the book, probably.
Oh, shoot. Yes, sorry. I'm sorry. I should have.
No, don't apologize. Are you kidding?
No, this is what happens when Kristen makes me read the questions.
And we've been drinking.
Okay.
My cup's almost empty.
So, the question, the viewer's question is, how has the idea of focusing on your best clients, so true, I did nail it. How has the idea of focusing on your best clients as advised in the book changed your approach to customer relations? Well, I already explained mine, Kristen.
Yeah, and I mean, you really dug into to products, but I think, so this is where I've been in customer service my entire life. So the idea of Xing some of your customers was mortifying to me. However, when you look at your customers as the ones who will buy from you faithfully, who don't really give you a lot of drama, they kind of honor what it is that you offer and the prices that you're asking. And then you may have customers who you spend way too much time on, and in the end really don't make anything from. They're just a customer in name, but not in any type of profit range, because you take how much they spend versus how much you work to cater to them or fix for them or what have you. I think that's really where saying, you know what? He gives you different solutions for how to exit those customers. And some of them are very gracious. You know, some of it's changing prices. Some of it's just saying, I'm so sorry, we're not doing business anymore. And I feel like even in the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, he gives an example of really how to bring your customer back in line. You know, like, hey, here is how you can submit orders. If you don't submit an order this way, we're not filling it, or something like that. You know, and so I think from a customer lens and editing your customer, pouring your time into the ones that are actually profiting you versus ones that you maybe make a few dollars from and you spend much more time catering to, fixing, accommodating, and all of that. So yeah, your ABC units and your ABC clients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that. So the secondary question was, can you share an example of how you've applied the concept of trimming the business pumpkin vine to eliminate what's not working? You
did that. Yeah, with your units especially. Yeah, good. All right, what did we read next? Goodness, we are.
How long are we into this? I think it's been a while.
We'll make this our last book, and then we'll pour the others into a second Q&A in the future. How does that sound?
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Whatever this book is.
Okay, so the next one is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown.
Well, we weren't expecting that one.
No, we weren't.
It's a business book.
Yeah.
I mean, a very, very good friend of mine, Sarah, hi guys, has just loved and been so inspired by so much of Brene's work. And then coming from a corporate lens, Brene's name and her approach to vulnerability is really circling in corporate realms. So I'm like, you know what? Let's see what the buzz is about. And yes, when we first started reading the book, she really doesn't go through a business approach at all. It really is. But this is almost going back to Mindset by Carol. You know what I mean? Where you kind of got to assess how you're viewing things.
Yeah.
But I think that Brené's she's putting vulnerability and even the concept of shame, she's putting it out there so that we can't hide behind it anymore. So what questions were we asked about Daring Greatly?
So can you share an example of a time when embracing vulnerability led to positive change or growth in your business?
So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I had a time when we were fiscally in the red and I needed to make cuts. Now, those cuts could be team members, which would just stab me in the heart, or we needed to find a way to cut down somehow in the expenses, right? I had already combed through, I'm a numbers girl, so I already combed through the budget, I've combed through the finances, and I really just was not seeing anywhere else that I could cut expense-wise without jeopardizing the flow of operations. And so I reached out to my next in command, my manager, and I told her what was going on, and I explained to her that we needed to make some cuts, and it was really, I came in with the thought like, okay, we're gonna have to figure out who we're gonna have to lay off in order to gain being back in the black. And she had suggested to me, she's like, why not we have a meeting with everyone and we explain the situation and see if collectively we can all come up with an answer. Now, that was a fantastic response by her, and I'm just honored that she came up with that response, but it did take me having to say, okay. And that meant me being vulnerable in front of everyone in a meeting, telling them what's going on, explaining the situation, and hoping that everyone sticks around, right? And that's what we did. And when I went in front of everyone, I explained everything that was going down, and I let them know we need to cut this amount of money from our budget every single month in order to become fiscally sound for the company. And what really surprised me is that all of them collectively said, okay, well, let's cut here. Like, there were certain things in the expense wise, we're like, well, we can cut here in packaging, or we can cut here and some other stuff. And then collectively they came in and said, well, I'll take a couple hours from each one of us too per week in order to make up for that deficit. And they took that decision on themselves, all because I was vulnerable enough to share with them the financial constraints at that time with our company. So yes, vulnerability does pay off.
Right? Because you could have come across as this like savvy businesswoman. Okay, I'm going to make some changes in the business and kind of be vague about it. And I'm so sorry, but this is going to have to happen. And almost been cold and distant. But that's not who you are at all.
Well, going back to growth mindset versus fixed mindset, you think you need to know all the answers and you need to deliver it in a fashion that makes you look good. A growth mindset understands that you do not know all the answers and you need to lean on people in order to gain resources enough to find the answer that best suits you. And so in that moment, I had a growth mindset that said, I don't know the answer to this. Let me lean on someone. And then when she told me, it was another growth mindset to say, well, I don't know all of it. I'm going to lean on the other ones in the office. Maybe they know an answer as well. And so vulnerable in front of all of them. But yeah, the two go hand in hand.
They sure do. What was the other question?
How do you encourage your team to engage in wholehearted work and bring their authentic selves to the workplace? I think it starts with you.
Absolutely. They need to have a safe place to be themselves and to be able to speak up. And I think you giving a safe place for what ideas do you have to save money in the business. And I think it comes from being vulnerable as a leader. And I think this is where it's creeping in the corporate world, is so many leaders are worried about looking like they know what they're doing. And business is always evolving and changing. And chances are the answers are in your team, not in your experience. And that's a really hard lesson to swallow, because we want to come across as we got this. But the way things are evolving, maybe somebody else has got this. And you can make it a safe place for them to share it. And your response needs to be, no, that'll never work. Your response needs to be, okay, how would that, and get them to dialogue further versus being closed-minded and like, nope, that won't work because I didn't come up with it.
Exactly. I love leading with questions. So when an idea is approached to me, the very first thing I like to do is just dig a little bit more and ask some questions. One, because I'm a visual person, so I'm trying to paint an image in my head. So asking questions helps with that. But also, too, is just going in and trying to lean on. You can't negate the fact that you do have experience, and in your experience will guide you. But learning the experience of someone else, so asking those questions to see if they have experience in it, and then questioning why they think it'll work versus why you don't think it'll work, and making an educated decision. Now, I am an archetype of strategic, so I like as much data as possible, but sometimes you just have to lead on your gut, right? And by asking questions, it'll help answer some of the questions your gut has, and you'll be able to make a better decision, right? Absolutely. So for me, I always just lead with questions, not assumptions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, this was fun, kind of going back in time and talking through these. And I know we're only a part of the way through the list because we've read so many more books still, but this will be fun to do another one of these in the future. I know we actually have questions pending for a few other books, but this will give us time for people to catch up to some of our summer ones and submit some questions for I loved our June summer vacation where we did a short little book that you can read over a quick trip. So yeah,
so good. Had so much fun.
Yes, y'all, thank you so much for being part of all of this with us. Some of you I know are watching every week when we post something, and some of you have just joined on, and this is amazing. And we're just so grateful to have you in our community now and watching. So help us continue with our reach, please. We need your help. We're wanting to do this really raw and organically. We don't want to, I don't know. We're doing it raw and organically and hoping that our sincerity finds you or anybody who needs us. So when you
we're building our tribe. We're building our tribe, right?
We're building our tribe. So when you like and subscribe, that's amazing. But really, the factor is sharing. When you share after you've watched this and put it on your own social media, somebody else, you just never know. At some point, somebody will be scrolling and they're like, what's this? And hopefully our message will align with what they're needing at that moment. It's just like tugging at our heart to just want to be there for whoever needs that help and their guidance in their, mindset to help them grow and flourish. So please subscribe and then put some comments in there. We got comments in Facebook. Hello, please. You can also, DM us and email us. There's so many ways to get in contact. I do want to know some of your questions for either more of these books or some of the ones we've done in the future. So what do you say? It's what YouTube is meant for, is giving feedback and sharing things.
Yeah, let's get back to what it was for. YouTube initially came on as a way for people just to share the authentic selves online, right? People would go and comment and yay, hey, ask questions. Let's get back to that. This is our authentic self. Give us a little comment. Let us know what you think. What hit you? What resonated with you? What do you think we can improve on? We have a growth mindset. We're willing for the challenge.
Well, thank you guys. We will see you next week. And in the meantime, why don't you grab a good book,
get some great booze,
and grab an amazing buddy to share it with. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
When you're not beside me.
I know. Only one day though, Kristen. It's only one day.
You're right. So